Is live.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to T-Hub's webinar series. We are having a session on building your inbound sales strategy. This is part of our Business Unusual series. I'm Vinita from T-Hub. Before we dive into it, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to walk you through our methodology of doing these webinars. So just give me 1 second. For all of the startups, and we from T-Hub wanted to enable and support you in this time of need. So we have come up with a three-pronged approach to doing this. One is a set of webinars, then there's a set of mentor hours that we have planned, and also we are doing a lot of partner events. We do not want to duplicate efforts. A lot of our partners across the country who are doing an amazing job in curating and putting together great panels that can help you answer the questions that are coming up in your mind. So just run you through what is our thought process as to how we have decide on the focus areas. Right now, we have something that we are not used to. We have a set of new challenges that are thrown in our face. So, how do you handle a hard time? So, these are a set of sessions where we figure out what is happening in the COVID world right now, and how do you handle this crisis at a very high level. What are the action steps that you need to take? How do you engage with your team? The second set of webinars that we do is called the Business Unusual. This is a set of best practices, best tools, and best hacks that you can use to handle business in the current uncertain times, as well as the new challenges of remote working, of having to track the KPIs remotely, of having to manage your team, having to manage vendors, everybody remotely. So there's this, and the good news is, I think everybody of us are also, I mean, even your vendors, your suppliers, your customers, your investors, everybody is going through the same crisis as you are. So there's definitely a lot more empathy and a lot more understanding from your peers across all of your stakeholders. So, but still, you need to be ready to face that and as take it in your stride and give it the best shot that you can. So that's the reason that we have the series of putting together the best tools and best strategies that you can use to really further your game right now. So this series that Aditya is going to take from HubSpot, he is going to stress on sales strategy. So this falls under the business unusual category. Apart from this, a lot of businesses are going to be disrupted. A lot of sectors are going to be disrupted with what is happening right now. And maybe it's time to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to realign ourselves and figure out the next few quarters or the next few years. In fact, if all of you must have heard that the last recession gave rise to some of the biggest startups that we have today. And I'm sure this one will have a great series of successes coming out of this one too. So that's where Plan B is. We're going to go back to the drawing board with some of our startups through the mentor hours that we are conducting every week thrice. That is on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, where we bring in mentors from the sectors that you are aligned to, and we give a broad framework with which you can work with your mentor and try to put down your opportunities, your risks that you see at the moment, and how you are prepared or not prepared to face any of these. Uh, so apart from that, we're also bringing in very senior entrepreneurs who have seen exits, entrepreneurs who have seen hard times, have come out of it, and are very experienced to share their inputs, share their journeys with you. So that is called the Plan B series. So these are the three broad categories. Apart from this, we also have AMAs with Ravi Narayan, our CEO, and a few of the prominent VCs from the community. We had Satish Chandra from NBA Partners last week. On the Friday, we have Samir from Inventors, and the next Friday after that, we will be having Sandeep Singhal from Nexus. This is all what T-Hub is doing. But of course, there are a lot of our partners who are doing an amazing job, again, putting together these events and catering to the startup base right now. So we have partnered with Thai Delhi, Thai Hyderabad, Thai Bangalore, and NSRCL, and a couple of other partners who are also doing a lot of interesting work. So we will be bringing in all of those events to your mailbox or to your WhatsApp window, so that you can register for the ones that are interesting for you. Alternatively, you can also go on to our website, which also lists all of our partner events along with ours. So this is what I wanted to just kind of give a brief, because there were quite a few questions on what is Plan B, what is business unusual. So I wanted to just take a couple of minutes before we dive into the session. Uh,
I think before we start, some of the people are having a issue in the feed. So let me just try and figure out consensus on that. Hi, if everyone can hear me, can people please confirm if they can hear me or not? And I think some people are facing an issue. If you are facing an issue, please. Okay, some people are saying that they can hear me, but if you are facing an issue, please refresh your browser and join in from Chrome and your laptop and desktop. Okay, thanks. I think we have enough to continue. I'm going to put Aditya on screen now.
okay, sure.
Sorry.
Aditya, I think you're on. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll just share my screen and then I think we can pick things up. Great. So hi everyone. Really excited to be here to get going with today's session. Just a quick round of intro. So I'm Aditya. I'm based out of HubSpot's office in Singapore. That's where HQ for APAC is, and we work very closely with incubators, accelerators, VCs, especially folks in the ecosystem like T-Hub. And that's where we've put together things where we want to just try and see how we can help you build up this whole inbound strategy. In my current role, I just keep a close tab on the ecosystem and work with growth stage to early stage startups. And over the last couple of years, I've worked with B2B and a B2C startup in the tech space. So happy to answer any questions around anything of that kind. And over the last 2 years is when I joined HubSpot to lead their HubSpot for Startups program across Asia, right? What we're essentially going to be talking about today is a brief agenda. Over the next 40-45 minutes, that's where I think the content is going to span
We
up.
can't see your screen right now. Just letting you know, we can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
No. We can see we can see your video feed, but we can't see your shared screen right now. Yes, now we can see it. If you could also mute your video feed when you're sharing the screen, because some people seem to be facing a video issue, but the audio is good. Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, so I've turned on my video. Hope the feed is all okay for people. Okay, so if you have access to my screen, so what we're essentially going to be covering in today's agenda is primarily around how the buyer experience is changing. I'm sure a lot of us are in the B2B space. Some might be in the B2C space as well. What does your sales process look like, right? Now, in times where you're really trying to pivot, we're going to talk through what a frictionless selling framework would look like, and how you can leverage on, for example, video to build more trust. We're going to lean into free tools and a tech on what you can use at this time, and also just a bit about why it's really important to still continue that access, to continue that whole process around marketing as well, right? So I'll touch base a little bit there. Now, at HubSpot, we really love small businesses and startups, right? And especially folks who are just trying to grow better, right? And as a mission, we are right there trying to change how people can go a lot more inbound, how they can attract, engage, and just delight their customers, right? So as a company, we're just trying to help other companies do things that could build that repeatable and a scalable process for them, right? Now, now, when you think about what's really changing, essentially buyers are just getting a lot more in control, right? So every business out there, whether it's an individual, whether it's an SMB or company, you're essentially trying to block out salespeople, right? Buyers are just have been great at they just have a different expectation of the way they want to purchase and interact with people, and that makes it a lot more difficult for people to really go out there and sell effectively, right? Let's go through what Timmy's average buying process looks like. So he's your average B2B buyer. Timmy goes to a conference. He then gets in touch with somebody. He goes on a sales call. He goes through a couple of engagements and so on. All right. Can people see the presentation or?
Yes, Aditya, we're able to see it.
See it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, right. And then you go through this whole decision of trying to engage and trying to get the purchase done, and then you have finally Timmy as a happy customer, right? And in this whole linear process, essentially, you are going through this buyer's journey, right? Which is awareness, consideration, finally trying to make a decision. The one thing I'd say over here is that it's very, very sales heavy, right? So it's really relying a lot on engagements and sales and things which are outside a lot of individuals' control, right? Come 2020, this is what Timmy is going to do. So Timmy gets up in the morning, he's scrolling through his LinkedIn feed, he finds something very, very interesting. He clicks through it, he's inquisitive, so he's trying to learn his way out. He realizes that he needs to take an action. So he discusses the whole topic, what he's read about with his team, what he found out. And then he goes back on his search. He's trying to discover who this company is, what their product is, what the service is. He's finally downloading some pieces of content, whether that's a PDF, whether that's an ebook or whatever that it is that's going to help Timmy in his decision-making process. And eventually, this is going to look like this wavy curve, right? So this is exactly what Timmy's purchasing decision is, or just his buyer's journey, right? So what essentially, what we should be focusing on as businesses is also not what you're selling, just not about what you're selling. It's also about how you sell and how you go to market today. So that's really crucial, because this whole changing buyer's journey, this whole changing landscape of how people like to engage and how people like to get to know about something, whether it's a product, service, or anything out there, is constantly changing. So our selling motion also has to change, and change in the way that the buyers would like to engage with us, right? So hence, even at HubSpot, we've literally changed the way we take into account how people like to engage. So this whole concept of attracting, engaging, delighting, right? It starts with the stranger. The stranger becomes a prospect. You then have customers, then have promoters, right? But your sales and marketing, any of these strategies are built around the customer, which is your core base, right? So I'm going to begin with a couple of things. What is your value proposition? A lot of times when we look at businesses, right, it's really difficult to understand what the UVP or the USP is. And a lot of this goes into the way you've positioned your UVP or your USP on your website, on your social, and so on. And here's a couple of examples that I really like, right? So when I go to Slack's website, really clear UVP, really clear, within the next 15 to 20 seconds, I can understand what these guys are doing. And I have a couple of more examples of startups who are doing it really well. iZoodle, bootstrap startup based out of India. They do push notifications, they're SaaS, they just sell to clients globally, right? When I go to their pages, I have this trust, I can find a lot of information, and I can also understand what these guys are doing. On the other side, another startup which is into the cybersecurity space, when I go to them, when I go to the landing page, when I go to the social, they really have a great amount of UVP, which is right out there, and I can understand what they're doing. So it's really crucial how you're modifying and trying to gain the trust of your users. And people are going to go back to your websites, to your LinkedIn, to any possible information that they can get their hands on to learn what's happening, or to learn what are you trying to help them with, what kind of a company you are. And you have to get that trust in that first 15 to 20 seconds. Cool. Now that's more about UVP and USP and so on. Okay. Now going back to what is an inbound sales process, right? So before I dive into this, can we have on the chat probably just quick yeses or no? Do we have more, are we more inbound heavy today? Are we more outbound heavy today? So can people just type inbound, outbound, and we get a sense of like where different teams are? Outbound, both, okay? Inbound. So Balaji says inbound, Satish says inbound, outbound. Okay, so it looks like that there's a nice mix. There's both this thing, right? And I'd say if I go back into HubSpot's journey, so HubSpot was essentially founded in about 2006, right? Been a little over 14 years, and we as a company, we were really focused. So Brian Halligan and Dharmesh are HubSpot's co-founders. And when they started off the company in Boston, they really focused on creating this whole process of the inbound methodology, right? So the whole concept of inbound was really coined as a term. The company took a lead, and that's what we are trying to inculcate as a habit on how people can create this structure. Of course, at any given point of time, you might not be just 90% inbound, but you could start to being a lot more inbound than you are today, right? And going back to my point, things are changing. We need to adapt with that change quickly and service our prospects and customers a lot better. Now, there's a whole inbound strategy. In the outbound strategy, the legacy system that we have today, most of the sales team of the companies are based, the strategy is based on the seller's action, right? So you effectively rely on manually entering information, monitoring, some pipelines of your sales, and coaching salespeople on how they should run sales and marketing independently. When you make this tremendous shift to inbound, right, the methodology that today's sales teams are using, companies are using to grow better and scale themselves, this process is more intended, right, on the buyer's action, right? Everything is built around the buyer, right? And you can automatically capture seller and buyer data, monitor your pipeline, coach salespeople to align how sales and marketing could work together. So in the past, buyers literally had to go through a lot of evaluation, trying to decide what products they want to buy, what services they want to do. There was little information. Today, all of this information needed to evaluate your platforms, your product, your businesses is available online. So you need to be out there, right? You need to be out there with lots of information, trying to ensure that whenever people are going through these different stages, they have enough information to make that decision. And when you break this down, right? So when you just break this whole process down, this is what it looks like. You're attracting certain sets of people. You're going to convert, you're going to close, you're going to delight. And at each different stage of this buyer's journey, there are different things that can help you. When you're just at the attract stage, how many of us actively have a content blog in place? Yes, no, in the chat, please. Okay. So we do. Okay. So a lot of yeses, some no's. Okay. And how many of us are really confident about the content and social strategy today? Like you're saying, like you're really like 90% there. Like you love the way your process is. And we just want to be honest, right? Okay. So I have some no's, some yeses, some no, 70% there. Great. Let's be honest here. And so we can all learn and, get through the best practices. Great. Right. The reason is that a lot is changing on social. A lot is changing on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and we are not capitalizing the demand that we have. So the attract phase is really going to be important. We'll not dive a lot into marketing, but I'll give you what is changing and what you can do best today, right? So we're going to focus a lot on sales. When the person moves from the attract to convert, you're actually going to convert him through forms, through call to action, through landing pages. A lot of the landing pages that I see on businesses or startups' website, they're not just made in the right format. Essentially, they're not able to buy my trust, right? Essentially, if I have too much going out on a landing page, if I have too many questions that you're asking me as a small business on the forms, it leads me to think, oh my God, this is like too much of information. Let's look at something else, right? So you have to be concise. When you're trying to close these people, a lot of things come into play. The way you write emails, the way you respond to emails, the way you position emails. And I'm going to come up with some examples on what a best practice and what that looks like. And essentially having a source of truth, right? Essentially things like a CRM, things like one unified database where you can look through it, and then finally delighting your customers. Okay. So here's a quick step process on what the sales process is going to look like, right? So you're all prospecting, all that's great. You're using LinkedIn, for example. You're going to be using emails, like really going through this whole a process of connecting and qualifying and doing that research and discovery. And then the final stage is you're actually presenting, doing a demo, handling objections, and finally really closing that customer, right? This is one slide that I really love. In all that we are speaking about, all that you're doing, in this entire buyer's journey process, you actually need to start building trust, right? How can you build trust? When you're in the attract phase, when your salespeople are reaching out, how do you tweak your messaging to reach out a little bit more empathetically, for example, right? When you're approaching somebody on LinkedIn, how can you customize? I see a lot of people just add me to LinkedIn. Like, I'd like to add you as a friend. I'd like to add you as a business associate, so on, so on, and so on, and so forth. And that's really confusing because you're trying to build this network. You have no rationale why you're trying to add people, and it makes it very obtrusive. So a lot of people don't accept connections, right? So what we need to change this behavior is trying to be a lot more personalized. The first thing is what we spoke about, your UVP and your USP. That starts right from your social presence, starts right on your website. Can you convey that message effectively? Let's talk about the convert phase. In the convert phase, you really have to have clear and meaningful CTAs. Effectively, your call to action on an email has to be clear. What's your ask and what are you trying to convey, right? You're trying to convey, you have existing customers, I'm sure. Have short case studies of those customers. How are you using those case studies on your website, maybe on your blog, maybe giving it to a prospect on email? It's really important how you can use all of these information to really build trust. The final stage is really when you're trying to close the deal, right? You all want to be closing the deal. But the essential part that we need to use in mind is, can we use data to predict better? Can we use data and give that data to a sales team so that they can use this to sell better, right? Going from that cold calling. Now I see a lot of startups, right? So whether you're an early stage SMB, like, a startup, whatever phase you are, we need to stop this habit of just going out there and cold calling. Cold calling, yes, you will continue to do it for a certain amount of time, but you need to start ensuring that when you pick up that phone and you're calling somebody, you have some data. Things like, let's say he's opening your email. Let's say he's reading your PDF. Let's say he's going back to your website. So one of the things that we have, in this whole process at HubSpot, when we take people through training, when somebody new joins the sales team and things like that, what I've seen is really best practices that they implement. So for example, let's say Charlie is a sales rep in the HubSpot team. He really does not pick up the phone and just go like, hey, I sent you an email. Do you think there's an interest and you need to buy the product? No, he'll send in some information, right? He's ensuring that he's on top of his game. Essentially, he's looking at what that person is doing. Is he going to come back to his website? Is he engaging? Is he opening the email? And based on those factors is when Charlie decides, who do I reach out to? And when I pick up the phone, what am I going to speak to that person? Hey, Aditya, it looks like, so that's how the conversation goes. Like, hey, Aditya, I sent you an email last Monday. Looks like you've read my email. I also see that you've looked at our pricing page. I see that you've looked at our blogs. Is this something that I can help you with, right? The key differentiator over here is that you're really going from that cold calling to a little bit more warming, right? Because you have data, you have insights as a sales team, as a founder, as a business dev rep, and then you have full liberty to call that prospect and speak to him. And your conversation goes from that cold to a little bit more warm. Personalized targeted campaigns. My inbox is full of campaigns where people are just trying to sell me things. Like, this is not the time to sell. This is the time to build trust. So when you think about, and I'm going to give some more examples on what a good email campaign could look like. But when I say personalized campaigns, different people are in different stages, right? So we went through the buyer's journey. If I'm in the stage of, just exploring very top of the funnel, and you're trying to sell me stuff, it's not going to work, right? So we need to really ingrain this into our sales and marketing processes, because the moment you start making these mistakes, you start losing a lot of trust, right? And that creates so much friction in your processes. that your prospects don't want to engage with you. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. I think some people cannot, but I think most of the people can see my screen. So I think Jen can definitely help. Okay, now we're going to move a little bit forward, right? Now here's this whole process, right? So you've gone through that, you've built that initial rapport. There's the secret that we love to call, which is the GPCT. It's goals, spans, challenges, and timeline. When that lead comes into you, when you're building this whole inbound or your sales processes, you really have to nail this and finish it off in that first call. Like, what are your prospects' goals? A lot of times we're spending time and effort into those prospects where the goals, plans, challenges, and timelines are just not aligned with how you want to help or what you can help with, right? Challenges of that particular customer. What are his plans of implementing your solution, right? So when you get on that first call, this is a framework that I highly recommend that you use. It's just called the GPCT framework, right? It's goals, plan, challenges, and timeline. This is what every sales rep in your team should have. If you're getting on a call, you're getting on a qualification call, you just don't want to be spending time and effort and then realize that, oh, this person was just not the right fit, or oh, this person was just not ready to engage with me, right? So this framework can really help you navigate through all those challenges. Okay. Now here's something that I've just put together, which is like, how do you add value with consultative selling? The whole inbound approach is all about being helpful and being consultative, right? You're really trying to become a partner instead of a sales rep, right? You're genuinely interested in the business. So a lot of times, for example, at HubSpot, we always give tips and advices. Let's say somebody talks to a sales team. This is what we do. This is what a best practice that we've involved. We might just give them tips on how they can improve their email. We usually end up giving tips on how you can improve your positioning on the website or your social. Maybe that person doesn't have to buy from me. That's okay. But when you are in these calls, always try to put yourself on the other side as more of a partner and somebody who's trying to help, right? The other thing that you also should keep in mind is when you get on these calls, you should also be trying to see how you can help them sell your product internally. In a company that you're trying to sell to, you will have, let's say, 10, 50, 100 people. There are only 1 or 2 people who are actually the champions, who really love what you are doing and what you're trying to help overcome a problem in their own company with your product or service. Get to those people and ensure that they trust you well enough so that they can help you sell a lot more effectively. Okay, go. And here's just 3 core elements of what this good sales process. So all that we spoke about is just 3 simple steps. Deal stages that are factable and expectable, right? So when you think about a sales process, this is what it should look like. Matching the way the buyers like to purchase. So all that we spoke about as to how do you match the way your buyers would like to purchase, removing a little bit of friction, adding more value, and educating and not selling. These times are a lot more difficult. Trust me, you have to lead with education. You have to always lead with empathy, right? And not with the intention of selling. Selling will happen, right? Those people will trust you and try to engage. But right now, all that we want to be doing is essentially ensuring that we have a good amount of people and educating them.
Aditya, sorry to interrupt. Can we just please try to unshare and reshare the screen once, because a couple of people seem to be facing an issue.
So I have stopped my screen sharing and I will share it again.
Everyone, you just confirm that you can see his screen now, especially Ramesh from Smart Iron. Yes, he seems to be able to see. We can continue.
Perfect, guys. All right. Okay, so I'm almost at about half, half of my content presentation, and we're going to keep the questions for later. But how is everyone feeling? Are we enjoying it? Are we feeling okay? Do you think the inbound strategy is resonating? Okay, cool. So it's resonating with us. It's helpful. So let's keep going. Okay. Now, this is one of my most interesting things in this whole education is how do we implement a frictionless selling framework, right? Because this is really crucial to your inbound process, right? When you think about force, right? We're just trying to add everything that's actually driving more sales, right? So that's how you think about force. When I think about friction, anything that's going to slow down my sales is a friction. I'll name a couple of frictions. Not having pricing on my website, not being transparent in the sales process, right? Trying to extract too much value without giving me value back. So these are things that I see as friction, right? Not having a good cancellation policy is a friction, right? We need to remove all of this, right? It's really important that you remove all of this friction, right? And frictionless selling, what we're going to get into for the next 10 minutes, is a way of rethinking how you're going to sell. It's not only these times that are tough, but also as a company, how are you going to make it more convenient for your buyer and the seller, right? So it's really time that we rethink this process, build a lot more empathy, and go the inbound way. Now, when it comes to frictionless selling, it's really, I've divided this into 3 different parts. Enabling your teams, aligning with your target buyer, whoever that persona is, and transforming your teams, giving them all that resource that they need, right, to really go out and sell. Okay, so the basics: we're going to enable your sales teams by taking a real hard look at the infrastructure. What are they going? Cut out everything that they should be doing versus what they should be now doing. Next, you're going to align your sales teams with the target buyer, really prioritizing and helping your buyer, not yourself. And lastly, we're going to actually transform your sales teams into this continuous learning process and ensuring that they have all the tools, metrics, everything that's needed to succeed. Let's start with enabling, right? Your sales team is really out there to focus on selling, right? And this is how we're going to enable reps. So in the traditional method, people were just blindly reaching out to people. They were doing siloed works, multiple tools, no prioritization, X number of leads going here and there. When you think about frictionless sales, you're actually going out there and doing a lot of collaboration. You have one system of source and truth, right? How many of us actually, right? So enabling your reps, and this is a great term to just understand. How many of us use one system of truth for our sales teams? Like you're using a CRM, some tool to communicate out of this thing. Can we just see a yes or a no? No. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I see some yeses, see some nos. All right, perfect. It's really crucial, right? If there's one thing that I can stress on is getting a system of truth, which is a CRM. You just cannot make things happen today if you're on a Google Sheet. A Google Sheet is great for early stage startups when you're in that first 12 months, 15 months. Otherwise, there are free tools out there. You don't need even to pay for a CRM, but that's the highly recommended thing that I would ask people to get into is a source of truth, right? That helps you just understand what leads are coming in, what are you doing, and how you're going to effectively sell to your people, right? To enable your process, your actual sales rep, you're really scrutinizing your sales process and tools. One of the ways that we do it at HubSpot is when these leads come into our system, we're really looking at what information they have. When somebody fills up a form, we're just not passing that to a sales team. We're waiting for what actions that person is going to take. Let's say I filled up a form on a landing page. I might go back to the website. I might go back to the pricing page. And then we pick up these insights, pass this data onto the sales rep, and assign him the lead. We just don't blankly assign somebody a lead. That's just one piece of best practice I can look at, right? We take a close look at what our sales team are doing on a day-to-day basis. How many emails are you sending? What kind of emails are you sending? Are you sending emails that are very salesy? Are you sending emails that are meant to be more helping your prospects and your customers, right? So everything has to drastically change. As a sales manager, right, when you sit down on your one-on-ones or your team meetings on a Monday morning or a huddle, you're literally going through these processes. The third really important thing is how do you automate the process? I see so many startups writing really good emails, but they are all being done manually. So that means for example, when I was at the previous tech startup, I used to spend a lot of time writing emails because I was good at writing emails. I could figure that out, but I didn't have to be spending a lot of time to do that. So you can automate a lot of these things. And yes, it is important that you build out the templates and you automate a lot of these processes, As a founder, as a manager of your business, there are some key metrics for enabling your teams, right? Looking at how much of tasks are they completing, right? Time spent with connecting on customers, making sales calls, and really what are they doing for quota attainment, right? This is also a good time to be empathetic with your sales teams, right? You're not in the same time where you're going to be hitting your quotas and stuff like that, but really working and sitting with them to ensure that let's go through the frictions, let's go through the challenges, let's go through what's happening, right? So these are some of the metrics for actually enabling people over there, right? Then I'm going to move into aligning. When you think about aligning in the frictionless sales process, it's all about prioritizing what your buyers need. Your buyer has to be at the forefront of all that you're doing. You're building your sales, you're building your marketing, everything is built around your buyer. So how are you going to do it? In the old process, you just have limited availability for somebody to talk. Right. That brings me to the point. How many people have a chatbot / live chat on their website today? Yes, no, yes. Okay, perfect. Now, if you have a chatbot, I'd say that's the easiest. You don't have to have a live chat system every now and then. But this is really important that today's buyer, like for example, yesterday I was awake until almost like 1 a.m. sitting in my bed looking in through some LinkedIn post, and I realized a pretty exciting tool that could help me just build mobile apps on iOS and Android. And I've been a developer almost 10 years back, but I was like, wow, this is really exciting. And I wanted to look through, the pricing and how I can do it without having to code. And that got me excited. I went to the site and those people, their bot was so friendly because I could get all my things answered. They were just in a different time zone, so definitely they couldn't answer my this thing. But my experience with that brand, that company, was so much better, right? Because I wanted information at 1 a.m. Somebody could give it to me and have such a smooth buying experience. So definitely rely on having connected systems, whether that's a Facebook Messenger bot, whether that's a bot on your on just your website. Have something to service your customers. So that's where on demand comes in, right? The traditional way is you just have different sets of meetings without coming to arrive at certain conclusions. Have simple call to action, have simple meetings, right? And that leads to more alignment with your teams, right? Transparent pricing and discounts. Now, this is one of the questions that I keep getting from a lot of startups. Hey, Aditya, what if I don't put my price on the website? Is that okay? Is that not okay? Do you think people will buy from me? Oh, I have a very different custom pricing. So over the last week, I've almost spoken to about 1,400 startups through our sessions across Southeast Asia, Australia, Dublin, and India. And almost I realized that when I asked this question, almost about 45–50% of those people did not have a pricing on the website. And I was shocked because at HubSpot, we do a lot of research. When we did this last research, one of the data points that came out was I think if I remember that right, almost 72 or 75% of people said yes to the fact that they would not like to engage with a company where pricing is not made transparent, right? There are different ways to do it, but I'd say that is really crucial today, right? People are still going to come to your brand. They're still going to come to your website. They're still going to want to engage with you. But if you don't have transparent pricing and the way you'd like to offer them, that creates so much of friction, right? So let's ensure that we have all that enabled and done. The other thing that I find startups not paying a lot of attention to is also easy to buy and easy to cancel, right? So let's say you have a touchless service or a product that you're trying to sell. I can go and quickly buy your and get your product, but is it easy to cancel? Because if I'm not happy, are you allowing me to cancel? What are your terms and conditions? Maybe it's not that flexible. That's absolutely fine. But let the person know what are his terms, what are the options he has upfront, right? And this ensures that the whole process that you have in the selling process is very, very buyer friendly, right? Of course, like a lot of times we cannot make it overly friendly, but let's ensure that we can really make it friendly enough for people, right? Now, the whole important thing over here is really to take ownership of this customer experience. At HubSpot, we're absolutely obsessed, with customers, right? How do we make that experience really great, really wonderful? And as a startup, I think as an SMB today, as somebody who's building out a business in 2020, it's really important that you make it a priority. If your customer experience is amazing, if I go to your product, go to your social channel, go to that whole process and say that I've really enjoyed it, I'll go and tell so many other people about it. So your customer experience has to be nailed, right? And if you think it's a little off track, we have to pursue so that we can quickly course correct it. Okay. Now for aligning some of the key metrics, close rates. What are your close rates over there? How much time are you trying to take into close? After every close, every engagement, do you have a net promoter score? Do you have a customer satisfaction score? What are people telling you about their issues or their happiness? Like, how are you measuring all of this? It's really important. So I'll just pause. Omapati says screen is not visible, refresh a couple of times. How about the rest of the folks? Can you see my screen? Okay, visible. Okay, so I'll keep going, guys. Okay, right. And the last piece that we're going to touch on the frictionless selling process is transforming, right? Really, your team is going through the whole culture change, learning phase. How do you do that, right? Because you have to really understand that this is a process where you have to be educating, and over-educating your team, right? We really want to enable reps to the point where they can lift themselves up really out of wherever they are, evaluate what they're doing and what's working and what's not. That's really important for your sales teams today. So the traditional way is like, not having consistent performance reviews, really working with spreadsheet related data, selling them and just forgetting them, not trying to get in touch with those customers. Things have changed, right? When you think about frictionless, once again, when you're transforming your teams, a consistent performance review, right? Real-time data to your sales teams, right? Managers have to be focused on coaching, right? Let's do a monthly coaching session, have playbooks, right? Give reps the playbooks on what they should be doing, what is good, what is best practice, what is not best practice, and lead with empathy at all times, right? It's so important. Have people be accountable for customer success. One of the ways you could do that is also tie back a portion of, let's say, the variable dollars that you get, right? So the variable part of somebody's of a sales rep's income should be tied to customer success. For example, let's say if the customer churns out of 6 months, you are responsible for it because you've probably brought on a bad fit customer, for example. So you have to have these accountability and these metrics tied down. Okay, that's really crucial because that's really enabling your teams for success in the long term. Okay. Now to transform your team, 3 quick, easy things. Finding easy areas for your sales team to see and access the data, really important. A lot of people already have a system of truth. Great. Developing an army of experts. Just like this is, in short, like having those key people who are really good at your product. Some people might be good at certain elements of sales, having them and allowing them to help your sales teams. And working to really have this whole idea of coaching, right? You have this operating systems. At HubSpot, we have this internal operating system where we really lead with very intensive coaching and that whole cycle of onboarding, right? And then you have that onboarding, you pass that onboarding exam, then you have that ramp period. But we always ensure that people have all the right tools, insights, playbooks to help them be successful at HubSpot. So whatever company is out there, you really have to have these basics aligned, because when you hire the next rep, when you hire the 3rd, 5th, 10th, 20th sales rep, he's going to follow that playbook, right? He's going to follow all that previous reps have been using to be successful. When it comes to transformation and key metrics, what you're looking at customer dollar retention. You're looking at rep productivity, and then you're looking at how happy is that person. right? If he's really enjoying his job, it makes everybody's life easier. You've given them all that he needs to be successful, whether that's playbooks, tools, productivity, anything, and he goes on to do his day-to-day job. We're now getting into how do you leverage video for sales. So one of the things in this whole inbound strategy and the process is to be a lot more effective, not just with emails, but we're seeing a tremendous shift of video coming in. And that's really out there for two main reasons. One is to build trust. The other is to build great relationships. So a lot of times, all that's happening, out there, sometimes in emails, it can just get overwhelming, right? And it's really good to be looking at it, right? So, for example, I'll just describe what an average day in our sales team would look like. So, an average day at HubSpot, like the BDRs, the business development reps, will probably be prospecting. They'll send out a couple of Vidyard. So we use Vidyard. So Vidyard is an amazing tool. There are tons of them. You can use any of these video tools, but that's embedded into our CRM. So our sales rep use Vidyard as a tool. It's an amazing tool to send out quick videos and for prospecting, for follow-ups, and the conversions are great. But the two things that really help you make this happen is relationship building and trust. Right? So that's really going to be super crucial, right? So sales team have access to these tools at HubSpot, especially for us. We encourage them to actually be a lot more authentic, right? Be a lot more personal when they do this whole process of prospecting. When you're in between this, you can really use videos to recap meetings, to do some screen share, quickly get them this whole purpose, approach, and use cases. You can do a quick demo, 15-minute demo, send that video over, and let the buyer decide. You can also track like how much time are they spending on your video, which slides are they looking at, and these insights will help your sales teams to actually make that next process a lot more better. Okay, so that's going to be really helpful. And the final piece is the post-sale process, right? So bringing on your customer success teams, right? Bringing on your customer specialist teams, sending that quick video to that customer, introducing the team. It really adds a lot of value, right, in your whole customer journey and your customer success process. And also, it's a great way to get some feedback, right? So the multiple use cases on how you can use video, right, from prospecting, in that middle process of your sales, and then finally the post-sales process, right? So multiple ways, and feel free to ask any questions, and I can help you, understand later on how we've been doing it within our own teams at HubSpot. Okay. Now, a little bit I thought, while this was all a session more on inbound sales, I wanted to also answer some questions on top of mine. Maybe there's a founder over here, maybe there's a marketer. It's like why it's really important to continue marketing at this time, right? Now, these are a little bit unprecedented times, right? And we are seeing businesses be a lot more focused. So we saw Facebook come out with a fund to help the small businesses. We had Slack over there. At HubSpot, we've done a bunch of things. So I'll cover that, what we have done to help our customers and how you can utilize some of these ways. But in short, like as a business, you have to be adaptable. You have to build relationships. And it's really crucial that you continue your efforts on marketing. The one thing I'd say is the way we are trying to create content, right? So sooner or later, right, whether it's going to take 2 months, whether it's going to take 6 months, we're going to come out of this crisis. Your prospects, your customers are going to relate to is what have you done to help them, right? It's not always maybe just help in terms of monetary help. It could also be helping them think through a strategy. It could be helping them think through something they might be getting stuck to on a day-to-day basis. So really creating content, keeping in mind that how can you help your prospects and customers. So as a marketer, anybody who's in the call today or anybody in the team, you really have to be thinking in that direction, right? Quick way to think about what kind of content you're going to be creating. You're really going to be creating helpful, informative content. And sometimes it doesn't have to be 100% related to your product, not 100% related to your company. But this gets you a lot of goodwill because you're publishing something, you're posting something to help somebody else, right? So Like quick examples, like at HubSpot, our own marketing team, we've been doing a lot of it, right? So we publish a lot of content, and we've pivoted a little bit of a content strategy on the blogs. We're trying to help people go remote, trying to help people optimize their sales, trying to help people optimize their marketing. So a lot of our content right now is trying to help people in this situation, right? And these are some of the latest posts that I could just think about, right? As a marketer, you're going to think, wow, I'm going to create content, but my conversions are going to be very, very poor. It's not about conversions right now, right? So let's get this very clear. Your brand is going to live through the next couple of years and so on, right? So you're not going to really think about conversions today, right? These campaigns, these content, they're not meant to be converting. They're meant to build more confidence, more trust, more rapport. That's what you're going to be creating this content today. So it's really crucial you understand why you're doing it and then how you can do it, right? Also, it's important to measure what you're doing, right? So making decisions based on some metrics and data, right? When you create this content, people are going to read it. People are anyways reading it, right? So they have so much of time right now at hand that they're really, really reading it, right? So you have to be really good at tracking it, because if we're going to post all that content on LinkedIn and come back and say, hey, I do not know how many people looked at it, how many people came back to my website, that's a lot of effort down the drain. So when you think about this strategy, think about, do you have the processes? Do you have the system? Do you have the tools in place so that you can track all this effort? Because tomorrow it's going to pay you dividends. It's going to really pay you in the long term, all that you're going to go today. Okay? And then what not to do? I get so many emails. Now, for example, this particular email, do not have subject lines. Please, please do not have subject lines like this, because you are trying to scare people. That's not what you want to be doing. Don't do this as well. I get so much emails. My inbox is flooded from e-commerce companies. No, I do not want to be buying because I'm staying at home. That's a really non-empathetic way of marketing. But these are some of the examples that I loved. Look at the taglines, right? Look at the messaging. Look at the content. This is going to be helpful, right? Being proactive and transparent. So this is one of the snapshots I took from HubSpot's, which our founders, Brian and Halligan, posted for the community. Is like, how are we trying to support you? So being proactive. This is another example. How are we trying to respond to this? So these are some of the content I think that you should lead with when you want to be speaking to your customers, being a lot more transparent, being a lot more empathetic, and seeing how you can try to help, right? Now, as a marketer, you really have a couple of plays. And I'd say these 3 plays are really becoming super crucial. The first one, ads on social media. Now, paid ads are getting really, really cheap, right? So if anybody's thinking, should I experiment at this time or not? Yes, yes, yes. You've got to be experimenting because the paid ads are getting cheaper. It's a great time to experiment for small businesses. In other words, the traffic on the web is going up and very few advertisers. So definitely, great time for especially people like edtech startups. Anybody out there, great time to experiment on social. But the thing to keep in mind is you're focusing on audience expansion, not revenue extraction, right? Don't try to sell through these things. Try to expand and add more audience. Try to build that trust. They will come back, consume your content. You will have certain data points. Do not sell at this time, especially to this set of people. So that's how you're going to be experimenting, right? So for example, we had a big launch planned out for the HubSpot CMS. So we did not go in a big way to do it because the timing is just not right, right? So there are a lot of things that you'll have to put off, but there are things that you can do today to still make the best use of it, right? It's really a good time to grow your list, right? All about information and data harvesting, to be honest, right? Keep adding value. So more top of the funnel content. When you think about creating content, more top of the funnel content, more lead magnets, right? Remove all that gated forms. So for example, at HubSpot, we've removed all the gated content. Let people read and consume, right? So it's more of you're trying to give back. So more of gives, and gives. And that's really the need of the hour when you think about marketing today, right? Now, here's what I have, a couple of case studies, right? Especially, so we've got a lot of startups in the late stage and early stages. There are some startups that come to my mind on HubSpot who really are doing a great job. So iZuru, once again, a startup doing a great job on USP, UVP positioning. They're doing a great job on the way they create content. So a lot of their traffic is coming inbound, and they do a great job of really creating content that can help their users. The other example, early to mid-stage startup, AppNox, they've been doing an amazing job on how they create content, right? So a lot of that SEO value, a lot of that rich organic traffic is coming back onto the sites, right? So really different ways of how you could, really optimize your thinking when you're thinking about inbound and marketing and so on. And here's a quick summary slide. I'm not going to go over it, but I'll send this over to you so that you have some insights. Now, as a resource, right? So we've gone through a lot of content. How do you execute some of this? So as a resource, I'm going to send you some videos that you can literally go through on frictionless selling, inbound marketing, inbound sales. If people don't have a CRM, use a free CRM. I can send you some details over there. And there are also a bunch of free tools that you can use, right? So at HubSpot, we've made a bunch of our free tools. So especially the tools to create videos, e-signatures, and a meeting tool is all free for the next 90 days. So if you are using the free CRM at HubSpot, and we have the free email marketing, and use all these tools to actually go out there. For a lot of marketers, getting these graphics and newsletters is really crucial, right? So with the integration with Canva, so Canva is an amazing graphic design tool. It's completely online, but it also integrates with the free HubSpot CRM, right? So you can use that to really dish out quick campaigns, and all these are free, by the way, right? So get the process, get the scalable things going. And if somebody's just thinking, like, we've done too much of education, all that we've spoken about, how can HubSpot really help me? So this is just one slide I want to put out there. How can we help you, right? So right from that, strangers, prospects, customers, and journeys. So HubSpot's platform is meant to just enable startups, SMBs, anybody out there to actually help you do things. So if you're a startup, if you apply for the program, use the free tools, and go from there. So I think that's a lot of content. I've spoken for almost 45 minutes nonstop. So we'll go in for Q&As and any questions that we have.
Sure, thanks, Aditya. I think we have about 5 raised hands. So we're going to start with Siddharth Jain. So Siddharth, can you ask your question, please? Siddharth, you're online. Okay, I think we'll move to the next question. We have Madhura. No, see, we have Umapati.
Could you kindly recommend the best CRM tool for business?
Can you just repeat that, Umapati?
Could you kindly recommend one of the best CRM tool for beginners?
And what kind of a business are you in? Like, what are you building?
We are a clean tech semiconductor company.
Cool. I mean, there are literally lots of CRM, right? So HubSpot has a free CRM. You've got Zoho, you've got Freshdesk, you've got so many CRMs out there. Like, if this is your first time, start with a free CRM and then go from there. Like, it really depends. What are you trying to also do? Is it is your sales and marketing going to be talking to each other, or are you just going to be focused on sales? But literally, there are tons of options for you, right? From free to paid and so on.
The whole intention is to capture the coordinates that happen between us and the external world.
Got that. Yeah. And how do you do lead generation today? So is that happening offline or online?
It's happening in both the ways.
Okay. Have you tried a couple of tools already?
Right now, we are heavily dependent on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Okay, but if you could recommend something, it will be great.
Sure, I'd say like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be biased, but like HubSpot has a free CRM. Just go and try it out and let me
Okay.
know what the feedback is. Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks, Umapati. We'll move on to the next question, which is Karan Khanna.
Hey, Karan.
Oh, I don't see him. I'm just going to return his mic. We have Narayan from Unschool.
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Hi, Narayan. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you so much, Aditya. It was a lovely session. So I've been using HubSpot for the last 2 months after after doing a good research for 3.5, 4 months for my tech startup. One, it's very useful, but the one biggest challenge and bottleneck I'm facing today is the change of mindset in my sales reps itself, because they are very young people. The average age group is about 21 and a half. That's what I work with, and I have 20 licenses that I'm using. The way they use the platform is something that I have not sort of figured out. What do I tell them, even after having a lot of sessions on how to use the platform or showing them the bigger picture? I'm still not getting the best results in terms of them actually doing data analysis and stuff like that by using the platform. So I thought you could probably give me something on that front that could help me out.
Cool. Narayanan, I'd say to get the really best out of it, it looks like you've been using it for at least 2 months now. I can definitely recommend, like, if you think you're not getting good visibility on what the sales team is doing or what analytics, definitely there are already, yeah.
No, I'm talking about how do I have my sales rep use the HubSpot platform more diligently. It's not the usability of the platform, but them actually changing mindset from going. So we were using a lot of Google Sheets a month and a half or 2 months back, and having them to shift to this platform and use it on a daily basis has been a huge task for me personally. How do I get that change up and running quickly is what I'm looking at.
Got that. So I'd say like a couple of things. So we had such a session with a couple of Series A companies a couple of weeks back, and the couple of things that really came out from that is, of course, like this change behavior, right? When people are used to something, I think the first thing is like enable your sales rep to just go through a simple course on inbound. How do you sell inbound? So HubSpot Academy is a great place, and I directed almost about 150 reps of those Series A companies to first just go into a session. That instills in you why inbound, like why you should be thinking from that mentality first. So tools is second. First, let's get the mentality and the process going. When you go through a simple course like that, that teaches you a lot about how customers behave and how you could support them. The other thing is more of this manager mentality. As a manager, when you believe that you are really going to be doing inbound, you really think these tools are going to help, you go through a coaching session. So for example, we brought on a product called Gong. Now Gong is an amazing product. If you've heard about it, it just helps a lot of sales teams do things better, right? From audio to translation. And we went through an intensive training, but this training was also meant for managers at HubSpot to literally help their sales team understand what is it for, why are we doing it, why are we implementing this change. So the why is really important, I'd say. I'll go back to that. So when you as a manager, as a co-founder, when you talk to your reps, first is the why. Like, why did we even make this change? Why not just stick on Google Sheets? So that clarifies the whole thing, right? Because as a young sales rep in the team, I'm like, oh, should I just go and tag those something at Google Sheet? Shucks, it's going to take me so much of time to go and do it in the CRM. And then comes how much of a value they're trying to get out of it, right? When they're tracking things like open rates on email, when they're tracking things like who on their prospects are going to the website. So for example, have you set up those workflows so that, let's say Anurag was in your team, is Anurag receiving all that value? Can he see that value coming to him? Like notifications, hey Anurag, who you should be speaking to. So maybe he's not seeing that happen. Right. So I'll say start with a simple video tutorial so that let's say Kshitij in your team is more equipped. Then the manager mentality a little bit, and then finally enabling Anurag to get all that benefit? Because maybe Anurag is not seeing it. I'm just assuming that was happening when I spoke to those growth stage companies. But these are like 3 things I'd say which can help you quickly get things on track.
All right, perfect. Thanks a lot. My second question would be, would you be available for a coach call for my team?
Yeah, so we typically do office hour sessions. I'd say this month we are just totally blocked off till the 15th, but let's chat over email and we can do that. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll connect you on.
Thanks, Narayan. The next question is by Ramesh from SoulPage IT.
Hey, Ramesh.
He doesn't seem to be connecting in. We'll move on to Ramesh from smarthirein.ai.
Hey, hi Aditya. It's nice.
Hey.
Yeah, nice presentation. And, like we have got a lot of insights. So, primarily we are from HR tech software startup, and then we now in the given situation. So, uh, what what is that we need to do in order to generate the leads? Obviously, like given the situations, that's one question. And the second question is that my sales team, as like I second with Narayana earlier, basically like my team is unable to uh, getting adapted to that inbound sales strategies or inbound marketing, basically using the digitization of the tools. So how I need to encourage them. I take even the some of the sessions to them. I make them understand. But however, when it comes to the utilization of the tools, it's not effective. And because like still the mindsets of the people is that, particularly from the sales perspective, they feel that we need to go and approach the customers, and this is actually making me uh, go down. I mean, we could not able to see that productiveness or the prospects of building the pipeline. So I just wanted to know, like, what do you suggest? And even though the tools that we are using, the HubSpot, but uh, diligently, my sales team is not utilizing those tools. I mean, even though we have made the funnels and everything, but this is something. Then that's my question. And the first question is, given the current situations, what do you suggest how we should be approaching to generate the pipeline? I know that this would not be a time to generate the leads, but in order to keep in touch, how is that I need to make the customers pipeline?
All right. So there are a couple of things. Let's answer what you can do best to keep some of the pipeline going, and how you can generate more awareness and leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say at this point of time, there are 2 to 3 things that I outlined earlier, right? One is that you already have a database of existing prospects, right? So you have something. Do you do some campaigns today? Do you have some active campaigns?
We are doing some inorganic campaigns over Insta and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most one, basically that is where we are actually making a lot. Other than that, we are doing some articles and some kind of publications.
Got that. So I'd say absolutely. So LinkedIn, a great space. I'd say there are 2 things to experiment. One, if you've never done social ads before, a great time to experiment to see. The only thing, going back to my point, is this has to be, you are trying to do audience expansion and not selling. So yes,
True.
Those leads will come in, but I'd say the messaging that you're going to post out there is audience expansion. How can we help, right? So it has to be more top of the funnel content. I was just on your website. I'll not go too much into it, but when I come to your website, I think one of the things that I'll give you, can I give you some feedback?
Sure.
Yeah. So as a third person, I think I'm sure like you have your own competitors in the HR tech space, right? What I'm not able to connect is the UVP and the USP. Like, what is it that Smart Hiring is really going to be helping me? It's not coming across really quickly on that first 10 to 15 seconds. So that's something to just rethink about as to what you're trying to do, right?
Okay.
And how you can get that messaging across. You have a couple of things, right? So for example, even today, in terms of lead generation, I'd say really create content consistently. So you have a blog. There are people who will want to know how you could help. What are the problems you're trying to solve? So when you think about content, a lot of startups get confused. Do I need to create multiple pages of content. That's not really it, right? So for example, like, you can just create simple pieces of content. The intention is to help prospects. Your prospects have certain problems. Nail down those problems, 5 to 6 topics, and write around those problems.
Okay.
Publish it on LinkedIn, publish it on Facebook, Twitter, back on your blog, see what's converting. So you need to really measure, because everything is not going to give you lead generation, right? But you can actually measure who's going from your LinkedIn to back to your website. Can you capture that data? And then can you have an audience segmentation? So those are like quick ways to do it, I'd say, right? The other thing that you asked around is like, my teams not seeing the value of inbound, or was the question?
That's a question. Basically, they're not seeing the value, or they're not getting adaptable to this new way of taking the tools digitization for the inbound sales, like frictionless sales, like as you are rightly used the word.
And why do you think that's happening? Like, what were they doing before? Because this is a much more, I mean, you believe in the process. So I'm trying to understand, like, if I was a person in a sales rep, like, what were they doing before?
See, what's happening is like, since these guys, my team, some are like, as again, I go with the Narasimhan, like basically like some of them are too new to the system, or some are too old to the system. So too new to the system, they are not understanding what's happening. So they say that, how can I do this? How can I approach that? Unless I don't go and meet them personally, give a demo, something like that. And the two old guys are like, they are habituated to a conventional model of sales earlier, coming from the Infys or the IBMs and HPs, right? So this is a challenge, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to bridge that between, and then taking the utilization of the systems or the tools that we have, CRMs or the HubSpots or Salesforce or whatnot, right? So how we need to do that, but they are not convinced.
Yeah. So I'd say a couple of things. I'll just pause, take a moment to pause and backtrack this problem. The first thing I'd say is like, maybe they were just too much used to the traditional way of selling and engaging. That's one, right? So maybe your next hire that you make, you'll have to change the kind of person that you're hiring for, and what is he really bringing to the table. And that problem you cannot solve today. So let's talk about what you can solve today. Today, you can solve for the mindset, right? So if people are not really in for it, I would look at like, how are they engaging with people? Like, what were they doing previously? What has that changed today? Was they writing effective emails? I have a capability to do a sequence today, and show them like, how is a sequence much better than writing manual emails? I want to go on the field for sure. You cannot go on the field. It's not only about this these times, but going on the field doesn't help solve for sale, because I'm sure, like, let's say you have a marketer, they are doing a lot of job to get you that leads and traffic. So your sales team has to align with them. It's like, they're doing a hard job, they're doing a great job, and I'm getting you the leads, or here are the ways you can build leads. So why do I have to just go on the field and try to sell? Because, so I think for you, like, one of the best ways is like, go through a couple of these courses. I think this is a great time for a lot of startups that I'm seeing that they're investing time in upskilling this folks. So I'd say that there is a whole video on frictionless selling on HubSpot Academy. I'll highly recommend. I'll send that to you guys, so you can just take your sales team through that. Like 2 weeks back, we took like almost about 50-60 startups in Singapore just through that course. So there are these courses built in. Like, just pause for like the next, let's say your next Monday, just pause for 3 hours. Let people absorb this content. Do not do anything on selling, right? So let's help them. I'd say let's help them from a founder's perspective as to why this is important. Show them, and then let's go back and be like, okay, how we can help you get more out of it.
Okay.
A couple of feedback I'll just post in this chat. I think more around how much should your blog content be? Some people asked around. Yeah. Cool. Do you have any other question?
No, I'm good. James, probably like, if you can,
Oh, sorry, Ramesh. I think I cut him off in the middle there. Really, Ramesh. Please type it. We have the CEO of Naya Gadi next.
Hey.
Hey, can you ask your question? looks like he cannot hear us, so I'm going to return the mic. We have Narayanan again. We have Yashwant M now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Yashwant.
Hi, Jayant. Hi, Aditya. It was a great, insightful session. Thank you, first of all. And one question I have is, we get a lot of, we are a B2B company. We do sales for construction materials and building materials.
Okay.
To contractors and homeowners. So so what we are trying to see is how to get IndiaMart leads. We get a lot of leads on IndiaMart, like 20-30 leads per day. How to get it into the CRM tool? I mean, like if we can get it into HubSpot, it will be great. I mean, can we do that integration?
So my quick thoughts on that is, does IndiaMart have an API?
Yeah.
Right. So if they have an API, HubSpot has open APIs.
Okay.
And you can push data from their API. So it really depends how much of data are they willing to push from the ecosystem, from their platform. But whatever data they push out of IndiaMart, we will take in the data and push it to your CRM. And then once you get that CRM, you can build a workflow and assign it to any rep that you want.
Got it.
So that should be pretty easy. So I'd say we have all the capabilities. We have open APIs to do anything that you want from any system. I just go back to IndiaMart and ask them, like, what are the capabilities of the API and how do I push data out?
Sure, that will be great. I'll reach out to you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Yashwant. We have Umapati again.
Would you be sharing this deck?
Yeah, give me some time. We'll share this deck if that's helpful. Yeah.
Thanks, Umapati. We have Narayanan again who wants to ask a follow-up.
Just a very quick question. I won't take a long time. So since we started using HubSpot, the reason why I shifted there is because of the number of leads that we were generating, and we've increased from generating 1,500 leads to about 5,000 just in the last month. We are a B2C edtech company. Now, my biggest query here is, I'm on the starter pack of HubSpot. When do I move to the professional pack? Because I want to sort of really inculcate the automation bit, which the starter pack doesn't give me 100%. What would your recommendation be? When do I move to the professional pack?
Whenever you're ready.
What is that time? I'm unable to decide that because it's not about the cash that I have to put in, because I'm on the 90% discount for startup. So that's not an issue, but I'm really confused. So what are the key things you think I should keep in my mind before I make that decision to move on?
Got that. And are you on the sales tools or the marketing starter tools?
Both.
Okay. So so that's a great question. And my
thank
voice is rebounding.
No worries. Okay.
And Narayan, do you want to mute it? My voice is just rebouncing.
Do I want to?
Mute your system, mute your camera. Your mic.
Okay, perfect. So my quick suggestions over there is, when you think about HubSpot Pro, these tools can literally do a lot of things, a lot of heavy lifting. So when you talk about automation, when you think about Sales Pro, yes, so totally 100%, it gives you a lot of automation. It gives you a lot of accesses to how you do lead routing and all of that, and then like probably lead assignments and so on. The Marketing Pro is a beautiful powerhouse tool. Now, why I really call it a powerhouse tool, because it gets a lot done. Are you ready on content marketing? Because it's going to help you drive your blog. The whole content strategy on your blog, it has an SEO tool built in. So you don't have to worry about whether you know SEO or not. You just go in there, publish your content, and we take care about everything else. It has the marketing automation tool. So that's one of the main reasons why people and any startup comes to HubSpot, is that marketing automation bit to build out your workflow. So building out the workflow is easy, but are you ready to start pushing out content, start taking all the advantage of SEO and all of that? And then you've got a lot of the powerful tools on landing pages, A/B testing, and stuff like that. So if your answer is yes, you are ready to create content, ready to put in that effort, then 100% upgrade to Marketing Pro, Sales Pro. Sales Pro is a no-brainer. Like, that automation is pretty easy to implement as well. So anytime you can do it. For marketing, yes, you need to dedicate resource, because you don't want to be sitting with those powerful tools and not doing anything about them, right? That's it. Hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Narayanan. We have the last question. Let's try to patch him in. Otherwise, I'll try to translate his question from the chat. Hey, Balaji, can you just say something? Okay, it looks like but I'll just translate his question because he's been on on couple of times. His question is, hi Aditya, greetings. When you deal with high cost, friction oriented automobile sales process, what would be the best USP sales strategy? Did you get the question, Aditya?
Interesting. So high cost, friction sales, automobile sales.
This is in the questions tab. You can, if you go to the questions tab.
Okay, yeah,
see a
let me
couple
just
of
read it up. The questions tab.
In the chat window on the top.
Oh, perfect, yeah. Okay, so hi Aditya, when you deal with high cost, friction oriented automobile sales process, what would the best USP sales? Interesting. So I'll take a pause there because though I love the automobile industry, I'd say you're gearing this question more towards, let's say you were trying to sell a BMW, for example, right? I'd say what's really coming out, and we're seeing this a lot of this trend I'm seeing, at least in Southeast Asia, the way people are doing campaigns and building a lot more trust, is definitely through like not more around features, but like how do these companies have helped people in the past try to make better decisions on these products or on whatever you're selling, right? So the sales process is definitely long if you're talking about high cost automobiles, and during this time people are not willing to spend. So people are more focused around easing out that sale, is like more focusing on messaging around how do you have better EMI processes, how do you have better cost structure put in place so you can still make this happen. That's what I'm seeing. I'm still subscribed to a lot of these newsletters. So I'm getting some of these emails. They're not intended for me to buy. They're intended for me to more educate myself as to why I should make the decision now and why this brand and how we can help. Yeah. Pallavi has a question. Pallavi, I can't see your question. Where was your question? Can you post it again? Can you just copy paste that question, Pallavi? Is that the one around pricing? Okay, I'll pick up that question. Pallavi, for B2B business, is transparent pricing an important factor for frictionless according to? Oh, absolutely. I'd say those numbers are in high 70, 75. Like you have to have pricing, some sort of pricing. Let's say you have a custom pricing, and I was having this chat with a Series A company a couple of weeks back. Like they were selling a lot of enterprise, and there was a couple of folks selling SMBs, and they didn't have pricing on the website. The reason I got from the founder is like, oh, we do custom stuff. Like, it's very specialized. I think just let's park that aside. You have to have pricing. Things are changing. People want to make decisions. And you have a lot of competitors. The average startup today has 19 to 20. The last time we did a research, any company out there has so many competitors today. So I'm going to go back and during my research, try to take decision on somebody else, because the time for me to invest in asking me the question, going through a process, realizing the pricing not working for me, that's a lot of time and effort lost. So I'd say be transparent, put some pricing out there, let people make that decision. And your product's worth and what its values. So it shouldn't frighten you. I'm like, you should be able to stand by your business, in short, and put the pricing out there. Does that answer your question, Pallavi?
I think we have one more question from Rajul, just above that, from Soil Cell. Rajul.
Yeah. Okay, so Rajul asks, I'm from agrotech company. What is the best strategy for sales in agro domain? What kind of sales team will be suitable for us? I'm from Okay. So let me just look up here's this thing so I can get some idea. I mean, I'd say not very different. So Soil Sense. Yeah, so it looks like by a quick glance on your business, looks like you have solutions and products which are very, very tech savvy. So your sales process is also going to also depend, I'd say, Rajul, a lot around simplification, right? So it looks like you have an amazing product, but how you go to market, how you position as to how you're going to solve for problems is going to be really crucial. So the content that you put out there, the sales, how you approach your sales team is going to be approaching people, or let's say you as a founder are going to be approaching people to sell. It's really going to matter because let's say I'm taking, for example, there's a product called Soil Sense Station. Like for me, I do not know what this product does, but there's very little information, right? So good material, material which is non-tech savvy, but which is a lot more translatable for anybody out there to understand what you guys do is going to be really crucial. Get a basic system in place, have a source of contact, have a source of truth, and just fire off from there. So no specific, I would say, for any particular industry. Yeah. So yeah, I just forgot. Like your sensors and IoT. So you definitely have to simplify your messaging because today on the platform there's a lot of tech stuff that I can just feel, and being more from that whole domain. I feel that I still need some time to grasp and understand and make a decision. So I'd say the people you're selling it to you'll need to simplify a lot of this content for them. Hope that's helpful, Raju. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajul. I think we're done with the questions and we're almost finished with the time as well. I think there are 2 minutes left. So if any closing remarks, Aditya or Vinuta, if you would like to also come in and end the session, if you're still around. Otherwise, Aditya, you can just close out the session. I think we're done with the questions.
Cool. Yeah. So I'd say, in short, it is really, really exciting to be here. Thanks, Vinuta. Thanks, Jayant and the team for setting this up. I'd say, let's get into the process. These are unprecedented times. I think a lot of startups are thinking, how do I do this? How do I do that in terms of sales, marketing, and so on. I hope this was just helpful to give you some momentum on where things are going, why this inbound strategy is going to be helpful versus an outbound strategy. And it's going to be, we're all going to get over it, right? So the way you as a startup are thinking, we as there are other medium or even large companies thinking in that same direction. But we've got to be doing what we do best, right? So as a co-founder, let's focus on sales, let's focus on marketing, enabling teams to just be empathetic. I'd say just lead with empathy on every sales call, every sales email, and every campaign that you do out there. And I'd say we're going to get through this all together.
Thanks, Aditya. Let's have a huge round of applause. You'll see a little clap icon down. Yeah, there we go. So thanks, Aditya, for giving us all these insights. Everyone, there's a feedback form shared in the questions and the general. Avinash, yeah, it's shared on the general as well. So please fill that feedback form. I think Aditya has also agreed to share some of the resources and maybe the presentation as well from this session. So we'll send that to you on email. So please check your mailbox in a few hours. We'll probably send it in a few hours or maximum by the end of the day. Thanks everyone for joining in again. Please, please give your feedback. We want to do many more such sessions. And we want you guys to be there in all of these sessions because they're very, very helpful. Thanks, Aditya, again for joining.
Thanks, Jayant. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week ahead.
Thanks, guys. We'll now end the session.